Alright, in this video we're going to do some basic cleanup on our admin. There is a potential issue with the way that we're handling our migrations at the moment. We have the seed method. The seed method will always add a user called admin. I want to make a little modification to this method, and then I want to talk about the potential security vulnerability and how to fix it, and why we can't fix it in the way that I would like to. The thing that I want to fix real fast is this call to set password is always executed, whether or not it actually adds the admin user to the database. The reason I don't like that is because, as you can see, the set password invokes bcrypt, and as you know, bcrypt is a very slow hashing algorithm by design. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to do this if check, and then we're going to invoke the set password method, and then we're going to add it so that the set password method isn't invoked for all migrations or all seeds, just to give us a slight performance boost when doing our migrations. So I'm just going to expand this if statement with curlies. I'm going to take all of this code up here, cut it, and paste it into those curlies. And I know ReSharper's wanting me to invert that if statement, but I don't want to. Okay, so there's a potential security issue with this code, or bit of logic. What effectively we're doing is we're checking to see if a user called admin exists, and if he doesn't, we're adding a user called admin. But in our admin panel itself, we allow people to delete users, meaning that if sometime down the road somebody deletes the admin user, then it'll be auto recreated with a very weak password, and it'll be granted admin rights to the system. We don't want that. We also want to prevent a user from removing the admin role from himself if he is an admin. So we're going to put those two checks in. That'll plug up this tiny little security hole and prevent us from accidentally doing something stupid in the future. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scope my Solution Explorer to buzzmo.web by right-clicking and hitting scope to this. Then I'm going to hit Control F5 to launch the application. It's launched on the other side of the screen. I don't need it quite yet, but I do want to spool up IIS Express. Then we're going to go into Areas, Admin, Controllers, Users Controller, and we're going to add some basic logic to our edit post method to make sure that they can't do anything that is bad. So first of all, I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to make sure that they can't change the username of admin. So we're going to say, let's see, we're going to add that code after we load the user from the database. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code that loads the user from the database, and I'm going to bring it up to the top of the method. So that way we have the user object at the top of the method, so we can use it before we have our early exit if the model state isn't valid. Remember, the model state will become invalid if we add any model errors to it. So then I'm going to check if user.username equals admin and form.username does not equal user.username, then model state add model error. Username cannot change admin username. There's a variety of ways we can handle this situation, but I don't want to do a massive security lecture and also add in a bunch of other stuff that isn't going to be necessarily required for our purposes. So I'll make sure that the username doesn't change, and I'll also say if the currently logged in user, so if auth.user .id is the user we're editing, and not form roles any, t goes into name equals admin, and t is selected, then model state add model error. I'll just dump this on the username, why not? Cannot remove admin role from yourself. So that'll prevent a person from unchecking the admin role. The final thing I want to do is scroll down to the bottom on delete the HTTP post action, and I'm going to say if user.id equals auth.user.id, return redirect to action index. Then on top of that, I want to open up my views and actually make the delete button disappear if it's the user that's logged in. That's fairly easy to do. If I go to views, users, index, I can come up down here to delete, and I can wrap this in an if statement. I can say if user.id equals auth.user.id, or sorry, does not equal auth user ID, then print this a tag. So show the delete button if they're not the currently logged in user. Now I'm going to hit F6, and let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to pass log in with admin. Actually, just as a convenience, I'm going to go into the front end code itself and add an admin link if the user is in the role admin. That's really easy to do. If I come down here to views shared layout, I can come here. I want it to appear on the right hand side. So I'll add the code here. I'm going to say if user.isInRole admin li HTML action link to index, actually I think it's home index, isn't it? Yeah, it's home index. Or, the first parameter is admin for the name. The next parameter is the action, which is index. The next parameter is controller, which is home. And then the final parameter is going to be, remember, we're going to have to pass in two of these. The final parameter is going to be area equals add. So now that we've added that, we can come back here to our front end, refresh, and we see an admin link appears at the top. So again, all I did was add an action link to the admin if they are in the admin role. So I click on admin, and I'm going to go into users, and I see that the delete button has disappeared for the admin. Let's hit edit, and let's uncheck, well, let's first uncheck registered to make sure that we can still remove us from other roles. And I'll update the user. That worked. I was able to remove myself from registered. Let's try to remove myself from admin. And then I get an error saying cannot remove admin role from yourself. That's good. Then on our username, let's type in some garbage, and it says cannot change admin username. Okay, so effectively what we've done is we have made it so that we can not code ourselves into a corner, or rather configure ourselves into a corner by manipulating the admin user or deleting him or changing his role. So it'll be a constant in the system. Of course, we can still reset his password, but that's irrelevant at this point. I think that pretty much wraps up all the stuff that I wanted to do. Again, all of this stuff is really just a kludge because of Entity Framework not allowing me to have access to my database context within a migration. And it's very unfortunate that it doesn't allow us to do that, and I'm not entirely sure of the reasoning behind it. But regardless, I don't want the admin user to be recreated all the time because he has an insecure password by default, and as a result, I don't want to allow the users to be able to manipulate the admin user in such a way that it would become recreated at any point in time. So I think that pretty much wraps everything up. We now have some nice little things in our system. I guess I could go ahead and add a back to homepage button on the right hand side of the admin. I don't really need to do that, but you know what? This is my project and I get to add links wherever I want to. Okay, so I'm going to open up the layout of the admin. I'm also, for reference, I'm going to open up the layout of the front end because for the life of me, I can't remember the exact classes I need in Bootstrap 3 to do this. Nav, navbar nav, and navbar right is what I need. So I'm going to come back here. Underneath container, I'm going to say ul class nav, navbar nav, navbar. Is that what it is? Yeah. And then I'm going to say li HTML action link back to home, action of index, controller of home, We do have to use 2 anonymous objects in order to get the right overload of this method. And then I'm going to say area equals blank so that it knows that we're going to the front end and not the back end area. Coming back here and hitting refresh, we now have a back to home button. We click on it and we get back to, it looks like I removed myself from the registered group, so it's not going to let me see the home page. Let me go ahead and add myself back. There we go. All right, so things are looking pretty snazzy. I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I wanted to do in this particular video. So yeah,